All right, let's get straight to it. Today, we are cracking open the playbook of the Alpha Tier operator. Now, this isn't just some theory, okay? This is a direct tactical briefing pulled straight from the source. It's a guide to absolute peak performance in the field. So, let's begin. Okay, I want you to really lock this in. Everything we're about to cover is built on this one single brutal philosophy. This sentence right here from Commander Wolfbrat, this is the core of the entire doctrine. It's the line in the sand, you know? It separates the amateurs taking wild pot shots from the operator executing a perfect one-shot solution. It's all about absolute certainty. So, consider this your induction. From here on out, every single detail is critical. We're going to move right into our first phase, the science of the shot. Right. Phase 1, applied ballistics. You need to forget all about guesswork. Every single shot you take is a physics problem. Seriously, it's a complex calculation of distance, velocity, and gravity. And a true operator, they solve that problem in a split second. So here's the first thing you absolutely have to understand. Your optic, your scope, it's not just for aiming. Think of it as a rangefinder, a calculator, a data gathering machine all rolled into one. Those little lines, the mil dot markings, they are not just for decoration. They are your first and honestly, your most important piece of intel before your finger even gets close to the trigger. Okay, so how does it work? This system makes range estimation super simple. Let's assume we're looking at a target that's about 1.8 meters tall. If that target fills up the first big space in your scope, they're close. We're talking 100, maybe 200 meters. Now, if they fit neatly between the first and second lines, that's your mid-range, 300 to 400 meters out. And if they look tiny, maybe half the size of just one of those spaces, well, you're lining up an extreme range shot. This is how you get that critical distance data in an instant, no fancy gadgets needed. Now, let's talk about holdover. Zeroing your rifle for a specific distance is great on a firing range. But out there, the battlefield is dynamic. It's always changing. Holdover is the real skill. It's about using those lines inside your scope to account for bullet drop on the fly. It's way faster, much more fluid, and it is absolutely essential when you're dealing with targets at all kinds of different distances. And check this out. This chart perfectly shows why your gear matters so much. At 400 meters, with a standard M24, you've got to aim using that first major line below the center. But look at the AWM. Its bullet flies so much faster and flatter that you only need to adjust to the first minor line. A tiny little tweak. And at 600 meters? Man, the difference is just staggering. The AWM is all about maximum lethality with the absolute minimum of guesswork. Okay, so far we've been talking about static targets. Now let's get kinetic. Leading a target isn't about shooting where they are. It's about shooting where they're going to be. You're basically predicting the future. The manual gives us some super simple, super effective rules of thumb for about 300 meters. If the target's just walking or jogging, lead them by half a body width. If they're full-on sprinting, lead by one full body width. And a vehicle? Forget the passenger. You lead by 3, maybe 4 body widths, and you aim for the engine or the wheels. The goal is simple: immobilization. End of story. Listen, you can be the greatest shot on the planet, but it means absolutely nothing if you get spotted. And that brings us to fieldcraft. The most dangerous operator is the one nobody ever sees. This whole section is about mastering the art of just not being there. Okay, pay attention, because this is one of the most critical lessons in survival. Concealment versus cover. They are not the same thing. Concealment, think a bush, some tall grass. It just hides you from sight. Cover, like a big rock or a concrete wall, that hides you and it stops bullets. The doctrine is crystal clear on this. You never ever sustain a fight from concealment alone. Concealment is just a hiding spot. Cover is a fortress. And what you're always looking for is a position that gives you both. Every single thing you do out there leaves a signature, a little breadcrumb trail that can get you killed. That muzzle flash, it's a giant flashing arrow that screams, "I'm right here." Firing while you're prone on dry dirt, you kick up a dust cloud that's like a smoke signal. Even the sound of you cycling the bolt can give away your position. The Alpha Tier operator knows this. They mitigate all three. You use a suppressor. You find a hard surface, like rock or grass, to shoot from, and you always move after you fire. So, minimizing your signature, that's half the battle. The other, equally important half, is choosing your firing position, your op. Look, where you decide to fight from is just as critical as how you fight. This is all about gaining what we call positional superiority. And here's a classic rookie mistake we need to talk about, the horizon trap. It's so tempting to set up right on the very crest of a hill or a roof, right? You feel like the king of the world. But what you're actually doing is perfectly outlining your body against the bright sky for anyone looking up. You stick out like a sore thumb. The pro move? Back up. Drop back 5 or 10 meters from that crest. Let your profile blend in with the terrain behind you. You get the exact same view, but you don't become the easiest target in the entire area. So, what exactly makes a firing position superior? Well, it's got to check 3 boxes. First, it uses natural firing ports, like a gap between some rocks or a low window, to keep you from being exposed. Second, it gives you the most hard cover possible between you and any threat. And third, and this is crucial, it has at least 2 planned escape routes before you even settle in. A great op isn't just about making the shot, you see. It's about surviving after the shot. Okay, we're heading into the final phase of this briefing, weapon employment. So, you've got the skills, you've got the perfect position. Now it all comes down to using the right tool for the right job and knowing precisely when it's time to switch. And this really is the big question, isn't it? What's the right tool for the job? Do you need the surgical precision of a bolt-action rifle or the sustained fire of a DMR? Well, according to the doctrine, the answer isn't so simple. It depends entirely on the situation. The doctrine lays out the roles for these weapon systems, and it's crystal clear. Think of the bolt-action rifle, your M24 or AWM, as a surgeon's scalpel. It's for long-range, one-shot solutions on high-value targets. The DMR, on the other hand, that's your combat knife. It's built for that mid-range fight, for supporting your team, for suppression. It's there to break armor and keep the enemy's head down so your guys can move. They are not interchangeable tools. And this is the actionable intel you need. The manual gives us hard and fast rules for when to swap weapons. An enemy pops up under 50 meters, that's a CQC breach. You immediately transition to your secondary, your AR or SMG. No hesitation. You're pushing into a dense city block. The DMR's rate of fire is what you want out. And if you're up against heavy armor, you use that DMR to crack it open, then you switch to the bolt action to land the final, decisive shot. See? It's all about taking the guesswork out of these high-stress moments. And that right there is the final, most important takeaway. When you boil it all down, from the exact placement of your crosshairs, to your spot on the terrain, to the weapon you choose to hold, it all comes down to one thing. On the battlefield, your position determines your power. If you can master your positioning, you will master the engagement. That concludes this briefing.